guys, Melly Spirit here. How y'all doing? Welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War. The third story that I am doing in this lovely series. This is part 6, Erik's story, and we're just gonna jump right back into it. It was surprising, a peaceful night. And thank you again, guys, for coming to my live stream. It was so much fun! And I can't wait to do it again. I am striving to basically get a second monitor. But I'll let you guys know something on the 10th. So bear with me until then. I woke up once again alone. However, I knew that Erik was off training. He seemed happy that he was getting back into the swing of it, despite only able to train for a short time before the final battle. However, as I got myself ready, a knock echoed at my door. Huh? Come in. The door opened, reveal a sight I did not expect at all. You! My heart froze in my chest at the man who presented himself at my door.
Huh? What's wrong?
Get away from me!
Huh?
Ooh. I scrambled back away from the Demon Lord, instantly recognizing him. I found myself against the wall, grabbing the nearest object and chucking it at him. If this was going to turn into a fight, then I would attack after I beamed him with whatever I threw at him. To my surprise, a purple tendril stretched up from the ground in front of him and smacked the object away. How did he have Erik's power?
What the? Love, what's wrong?
Why was the Demon Lord calling me love? We're gonna calm down. Something was off. He wasn't attacking me or doing anything other than standing in place. His face was painted with worry as well, an expression I would never have imagined seeing on the Demon Lord. I held my head and closed my eyes, trying to calm down. This had to be the spirits doing just another trick. Stop it. Whoop!
Princess, what's going on?
I opened my eyes again to see Erik with a face etched with worry and panic. In the tentacles by his head was the object I had thrown at him, but he stood where the Demon Lord was. How? I buckled down onto my knees and curled over myself, wrapping my arms around my body. This was too frightening, too real. What was happening? I looked up to see the spirit floating silently behind Erik before fading away. I knew it, but how was the spirit able to make Erik look like the Demon Lord? It was a twisted method if it was trying to get me to like it. Erik knelt down and gently wrapped his arms around me, nuzzling my head.
Shh. It's okay.
I barely noticed that I was shaking and whispering. I couldn't really stop myself. The man who had trapped me here appeared before my eyes all of a sudden. Then he vanished into the man I swore to love. Erik kissed the top of my head.
The spirit must be playing tricks on you again. We'll remove it soon enough. I promise.
I nodded, believing in what Erik said. This would only last a short while. Then the spirit would be gone. As I walked to the grand hall to meet with Faye, to meet with them for training, my mind slowly began to trickle in memories of the day before. What was up with Diana, and what was with her aura? She seemed normal so far, but remembering the sight of her in angry flames made me a bit worried. What was she planning on doing, and where was she going to go? I finally reached the grand hall, seeing Faye holding a strangely woven basket of sorts. Peeking from the top was an intricate-looking bottle, and I could faintly catch the sight of some items wrapped in green leaves. We were going nowhere. I tilted my head at Faye and walked towards them. What's the basket for?
Well, we gotta have food if we're gonna go out today, right?
Huh? Where are we going? I thought we had to train. However, the new look on Faye's face proved that today was not to be about practicing anything.
I want to take you somewhere outside the castle. We'll be in a safe place, I promise. Want to come?
Warning about leaving the castle entered my mind, reminding me of Diana's having suggested that day. I had arrived in the demon world. Did I really want to leave the castle now? Sure. Thinking about it, the week had been pretty stressful. Maybe it was time for a break. A day wasn't going to hurt us, right? Right. I nodded with a smile, making Faye grin back at me before taking my hand and leading me out into the hall. They guided me through the castle to the front gate, then released my hand to fly high into the air.
Come on!
I stared up at the open sky before taking a breath and nodding. I jolted my hands towards the ground, and up I went into the air. Faye cheered silently before flying out over the forest, causing me to follow suit. The journey forward continued for almost a half an hour before we arrived at a large mountain cliffside. Faye landed on it and set down their basket before opening a large sheet and draping it over the side of the cliff. This was indeed a picnic. I landed by the cloth before stepping over it and sitting down, letting my feet dangle over the edge. We were pretty high up and the sight was gorgeous, but I was pretty sure we were safe as long as we didn't do something stupid. Faye followed suit and sat near me, pulling up the basket of her goodies between our hips. They reached into it and pulled out 2 small packages, both wrapped in large leaves and held together with twine.
Here, made it myself.
Faye handed one to me and began to open theirs up, allowing me to look down and observe what I had been given. It was light, like a sandwich, so I expected it to be such. Unwrapping it was easy enough with a simple tug. As the leaf opened up, I stared at what was inside. It was a sandwich-sized block of what looked like bread, peppered with little sprouts of green veggies and seeds of different kinds. I was intrigued just looking at it. What is this?
Good.
I stared for a bit before breaking off a piece of it to taste. It broke off rather easily, revealing a soft and steamy warm center. It became even more interesting to me as I lifted the piece to my lips and took a bite. I expected it to taste somehow exotic or wild and crazy. I was completely incorrect. Bread. It tasted like bread. Fresh bread, but still bread. I chewed a bit and swallowed, accepting that my expectations were cruelly deceived before looking to Faye and seeing them practically chow down on their bread block. They seemed to enjoy it a lot. Was I missing something? I took another bite and tasted it again. There's a bit more taste the second time, as the taste of the seeds popped out of my taste buds, but it wasn't anything truly marvelous. Maybe it was enough for a demon. Faye finished their bread before grinning at me. Crumbles decorated their lips and cheeks before they licked it all the way with their tongue. I took another bite of my bread before looking out to the forest before us. This is a pretty nice place.
Yeah, this place is pretty nice. I come here and eat all the time.
Really?
Uh-huh. I really don't like the food they make at the castle, especially the stew. Blech.
I tilted my head, vaguely remembering being offered stew the day after I came into this world. What was wrong with it? What's wrong with the stew? Faye looked over at me and gasped, their face slightly turning green despite the surprised fear in their eyes.
You didn't eat it, did you?
Well, no, but... Faye let out a relieved sigh, placing their hand on their chest. Let's question it. Now I was insanely curious. What was wrong with the stew? I turned to Faye and leaned in, catching their gaze and making them stare back at me. Faye, what is in that stew? Faye? Faye shut their eyes before covering their head, curling into themselves.
It's him! Make fun him!
Ugh! Okay, thanks. I started taking it in. Pig, fawn, imp. Then I remember the demon lord henchman from the vision the boys showed me when we met. The demon lord had a servant that looked like a pig fawn. According the Diana, the demon lord had imps, so the servants had to be one. On top of that, one apparently had snuck into the castle to electrocute Diana the first day I came. Did she kill him and stick him in a stew? Did I almost eat a demon? My stomach felt suddenly queasy and I covered my mouth and took in a heavy breath in realization. I was now incredibly grateful Diana had stopped me.
I'm so sorry. At least you didn't eat it, right?
I nodded, shaking out my nerves and calming down. Thank God I didn't eat it. Faye let out a sigh and leaned back on their arms, looking up at the sky above us.
You know, for a human, you're pretty good with magic.
I looked over at them and tilted my head. Where was this coming from? Faye, I only really know 2 spells.
So, there are some demons who only know 1 spell. You know 2! That's better than 1, right?
I was surprised, but I nodded. There were demons like that. Faye let out a sigh.
There are all kinds of magic in the universe, you know? For you to master demon magic, let alone fairy magic, that's a really cool talent.
I smiled happy to know that I was being seen as talented. Something about hearing a demon telling me that I was talented when it wasn't my fiancé made me feel really special. Faye reached between us and brought out the bottle, popping the cork and offering it to me.
Want some?
What is it?
A brew from where I was born. Salafion. It's good, I promise.
Sure. Might as well. I gently took the bottle from Faye and lifted it to my lips, taking a sip, being surprised at the taste. If it was alcohol, it definitely didn't taste like it. A gorgeous mixture of berries, mineral water danced along my tongue, revealing a hint of some spice I couldn't recognize. It went down like water and spurred me to take a good swig before passing it back to Faye, wiping my lip. Wow, that's amazing.
I know, right?
Faye cheered before lifting it up and chugging a good percentage of it down. Now I know why in the live stream what everyone called her Faye the drunken fairy. We do share the bottle, only limited to that one bottle, and enjoying the state of mild euphoria it gave us. As we sat back, we let out a stimulus sigh.
You know, something's wrong with Diana.
There it was. I looked over at Faye to see them still gazing into the air, cheeks slightly pink from the drink they had, but they continued to speak naturally.
I have this thing, like, I can sense danger and stuff, and lately, Diana's been flaring up for me like no tomorrow, you know? Like, she's...
She's what?
Like she's turning into the demon lord or something. She's growing more, quick to make angry, maybe.
I could tell that this was the reason why Faye needed to leave the castle. This concern was definitely one Faye needed to figure out, or at least vent about. Diana seemed to be close to them. What do you think could have changed her?
I don't know. I mean, she's always kind of been a, I guess, passionate person. You know, since she hates the demon lord and stuff. But she's mostly been pretty nice and stuff until recently.
Really? She was nice even when you met her?
Really? Especially when I met her. I went to her after my entire clan was burned and, well, she kinda took me in and asked me to help her in the war. I was the first person besides for her guard to work with her.
That was an interesting story. While it was sad what happened to Faye's clan, they seemed to have moved on and were okay with where they were. Faye tilted back and lounged back on the blanket.
I've pretty much been there ever since the war started. I've never seen her get so angry and stuff. At least not to the point where she suddenly, poof, burst into flames.
That does seem a bit odd. I became concerned for Diana too. Would she be okay? She was leading a large rebellion against a murderous psychopath, so it seemed to come with the job. But if Faye watched her and saw this change, then what could have sparked it? I shook my head and fell back on the sheets beneath us, as well staring into the open sky. I couldn't spend my time thinking about it. I was out to relax with Faye, and they seemed to want to get off of the topic now that they had said their piece. We relaxed there, chatting away at random topics until it was time to head back, practice a bit of what I knew, and separate for the night. Hopefully things would be settled soon. Entering my room, I felt heavy. To think that I had attacked Erik that morning was horrific. I couldn't have hurt him. I didn't want to hurt him. Then again, I had thought he was a demon lord. I had every reason to be frightened and tried to fight. But if he had appeared for real, would I have been able to stop him? I was training, yes, but only to defend myself, not to kill anyone.
I can help, you know?
Huh? The spirit was enticing me again. The room around me felt frozen in time once again. You can help me with what?
With a lot of things, actually. If you want, I can give you really cool powers.
Why are you being so friendly?
Huh? I always wanted to help you.
This spirit was making little sense. I was already training and I was completely tired. I closed my eyes and looked away. I can take care of myself.
Well, if you need any extra power, let me know. I can keep nasty people away, just like last time.
But you'll get hurt. My words seemed to silence the spirit for a moment before it spoke again, as if unresolved.
I still want to help you. You shouldn't be pushed around by that icky man.
Erik isn't pushing me around.
It's only a matter of time, though.
I looked at the spirit somewhat insulted. Did it really doubt my ability to protect myself? What do you mean?
You're a human. Humans aren't as powerful as demons. Especially not the evil man.
Before my eyes, the room around me shifted to the interior of a dungeon. I panicked, looking around while being trapped in a place. Smoke slowly eased into the space from the dark corners, making me cough and wheeze. What was the spirit doing? Stop it!
Use my magic!
What? I felt a soft glow in my chest. For some reason, I felt calm, and the air became easier to breathe in. Was this the spirit's doing? Soon fire began to peek in, and I was surrounded in flames. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to lean away from the heat.
A human can't survive in the demon world, but I can help you. I can protect you.
Stop this vision now! This was getting ridiculous. How could this be happening? Was I somehow in a dream? This was out of control, and I needed to find some form of freedom. All of a sudden, the flames around me vanished, and I was back in my room, staring into the empty space with the spirit in the middle.
Why won't you let me help you? I'm stuck in your body.
I don't need your help. I have Erik. The words slipped out. A brief silence followed before the spirit spoke again.
The icky man is related to the evil man, right?
Erik? That came out of nowhere. I nodded, knowing what she asked. Erik is the demon lord's son. What was the spirit concerned that Erik was evil too? Just because he's the demon lord's son doesn't make him a bad guy.
Does he really love you?
I stared at the spirit, trying to see where that question was going. It was trying to sway me, so I smiled and nodded. Erik indeed loved me more than anything. He does. I know it.
And if he doesn't? What if he's lying?
He wouldn't lie to me.
He could be. Demons always lie to get what they want. I was lied to.
You were?
Someone, a person, made a promise to protect me. But they didn't.
The room became darker and colder as the spirit began to suddenly cry. I felt horrible listening to it weep. Before I could comfort it, though, it vanished into the air, leaving me in the room as time began to move forward once more. I let out a sigh and rubbed my head. This was getting ridiculous. When was I going to be free of the spirit? I was becoming more anxious by the day. Even as Erik came into the room, I felt my worries about the situation grow. I barely noticed it as Erik finally entered the room. He slowly entered, most likely cautious from what had happened that morning. As memory of what happened appeared in my mind, I couldn't help but frown. I had attacked him. The spirit was trying to make me hurt the man I loved, and I couldn't have felt more ashamed for falling for its trick. I looked up at Erik with sad eyes, surprising him as he closed the door at last behind him and walked to join me on the bed. Erik, I'm sorry.
Love, it's all right.
Erik wrapped his arms around me and nuzzled my head. I closed my eyes and relaxed into the embrace, feeling him gently drain me of energy. I didn't fight back. I felt no reason to.
I know it's not your fault.
But I still almost hurt you this morning. My guilt consumed me as I buried my face in Erik's chest. Erik, in reply, ran his hand over my head and held me close. I was upset, and I had every reason to be. I could only hope that the spirit would be taken out soon. The morning was filled with concern as Diana had gathered us into the war room. Apparently she had found a way to expel the spirit from my body.
Are you sure this will work?
Indeed, this ritual is highly dangerous, but it should permanently sever the ties the spirit has on her body.
What do you need for this ritual? Is there a way to make it not as dangerous?
I've already looked into finding a safer method. The price for it is sadly too high to justify.
What is the price, then?
Let me deal with it when it comes. For now, we must prepare. Training today will be unnecessary. We need to prepare everything, and it will take a good majority of the day.
The day?
Indeed. However, once the spirit is severed, we can trap it and see why it was so keen on attaching itself to you.
It's strange. Why would a demon spirit pick a human to latch itself onto?
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get going!
What do we need to do?
You all need to be here in case something goes awry. As for you...
Diana looked to me and gestured to the table, which was clear save for a small pillow.
Lie down, and I'll prepare the rest.
I nodded and walked to the table. Erik, being the gentleman he was, helped me up onto the surface. I gently leaned back and got comfortable, shifting the pillow beneath my head.
She will lock herself within her mind and speak to the spirit. If the spirit is angered enough, it will take over the body. Basically, we're going to force the spirit to gain complete control of her body.
I instantly sat up as everyone else turned towards Diana in shock.
And why would we want that?
Diana pressed her lips together, seeing the sudden flare of anxious anger around her, before she turned to me.
Once the spirit has full control, then I will perform a spell that will rip it from your body, leaving it open for possession. Being that your soul will still be in the body, you'll regain full control after the fact.
Wait, so what happens if you accidentally pull her soul out?
That's what makes this spell dangerous. It takes a large amount of energy and will only work if everything goes smoothly. I won't know for sure whose soul I will be pulling until you wake up.
We're not even sure, are we?
That didn't ease my worries. Diana glared at Damien, who simply gave a cold stare back.
I would not suggest reading my mind again, bastard son.
Now's not the time to bicker. We need to make sure this goes smoothly. If it goes wrong, the spirit could absorb her soul.
What?
I suddenly froze in place. The spirit could absorb me. What do you mean? Diana sighed and crossed her arms, pressing her lips together once again. However, her eyes made it clear that she believed the ritual would work.
The spirit within you is a very powerful being, despite it being a child. It is a demon, but we don't know what kind of demon it is, so we have to assume that it is the worst kind. A soul eater.
A soul eater?
A very rare breed of demon who feeds on both energy and souls. It doesn't matter what kind of soul it is, as long as it's a soul, it's edible.
They're only as powerful as the souls they absorb, which makes them the worst kind of demon.
But didn't they die out long ago?
As I said, we don't know if it is one or not, but we have to assume that it is for safety.
Diana glared daggers into my soul, as if she was trying to glare at the spirit within me instead. Or maybe she wished to instill fear into me. I couldn't tell.
It will offer you power, but if you take it, then it will absorb your soul in exchange. The wording of its offer will grant the demon full power over your body, making it the owner.
Erik gently took my hand and looked at me with a more than concern burning in his eyes. He was worried and scared. Comfort him. I gently caressed his cheek. I needed to not only comfort myself, but I needed to show Erik that everything would be alright. Sure, there were doubts about this whole ordeal, but I needed to do this. Erik gently held my hand and kissed over my knuckles, slowly calming down. It would be alright. I had to mentally prepare. I closed my eyes and took a few breaths before looking to Diana. I'm ready. Diana nodded as I slowly leaned back and relaxed once again on the table. Erik still held my hand, waiting to be told to let go. Surprisingly, Diana didn't request it of him.
Keep holding her hand. If something happens, you must get into her mind and aid her.
Erik nodded, as did I. Diana hovered a hand over my face, my gaze pinned on her palm. What was she doing?
Close your eyes and sleep. This will seem like moments for you, but it will be hours for us.
I nodded and closed my eyes. Almost as soon as I closed my eyes, some sort of energy began to take hold of me. Was this Diana's doing, or the spirit's? My nerves began to tingle, and my body felt light as a feather. Energy embedded and flowed through my body, and I felt like I was falling through water. The space around me became thick with calm and almost emptiness. Was this a forced dream?
I know what you want to do.
Finally, the spirit made itself known. The space around me brightened, revealed a patch of forest. The image of my surroundings flickered and swayed slightly, reminding me that this was only an illusion in my head. In the center of the space, however, appeared the spirit in its orb shape. Would I ever see what the spirit actually looked like? I finally walked over and stood before the spirit. We're doing this so you can get out of my body.
But what if I don't want to leave?
I suddenly became afraid. The spirit didn't want to leave. The air became cold as the spirit bobbed up and down in place casually.
In here, I'm safe from the evil man. He can't find me here, and he can't hurt me.
But we're going to kill the man.
In here,
I'm gonna save here just in case I screw this up. But we're going to kill the evil man. The spirit stopped bobbing in the air and pulsed a wave of energy, shaking the forest around us gently.
how can you kill the evil man?
We've been preparing for days. The spirit circled around my form in observation.
I can help you, though. I really, really can.
I'm not listening anymore.
No, listen, I can. I can protect you from being hurt. Really.
The forest began to quake and suddenly shift to a sight I hadn't seen in a while. My heart suddenly became light as I gazed at the room around me. My room?
My dear.
Suddenly, I felt a pair of arms wrap around me. They felt like snakes slowly sliding along my body, with one across my chest and the other around my waist. Both pressed my back tightly against a warm and somehow familiar body. I felt disgusted by the act, but found no strength to fight back. A head caressed my shoulder and the side of my neck with a tortuously slow touch.
My sweet, delicious bride-to-be. You'll spoil a demon such as me.
Erik?
I can help you fight him off.
This was an illusion. This was some sort of trick to make me believe in the spirit. I knew it, but the fear within my body became real as Erik's fingers danced over my body. I didn't want this. A warm glow in my chest began to pulsate as a lavender wave of energy pushed against the arms around me.
What the?
Use my magic! Get him off of you!
On its own, the magic in my chest burst forth, forming a barrier around my body and pushing the illusionary Erik away from me. I barely turned in time to see the image fade, like dust blown away by wind. I never imagined seeing Erik vanish before my eyes, but I became witness to the illusion of it, causing my heart to feel torn. I felt tears collect in my eyes, but my mind became chaotic. What was I doing? Stop it! I knew what was happening. The spirit was trying to show me an example. I wouldn't let it influence me. My scream echoed and shook the room.
Princess!
The image around me quickly reformed in the forest from before, and I watched as Erik appeared from the brush. The spirit quickly moved to be near my side as Erik glared at the spirit.
That's enough!
No! I won't do it!
Erik's glare could almost kill. As his ethereal tentacles appeared around him, the spirit began to pulse defiantly.
Then you leave me no choice.
Erik lunged forward and charged at the spirit faster than I had ever seen him move. The spirit put up a large barrier around itself, similar to the barrier it had on me when Sarah tried to expel it. Erik's tendrils in rapid succession began to jab and slam themselves into the barrier, attempting to break it.
No!
I had to stop this. I didn't want the spirit to get hurt, but I didn't want Erik to get hurt either. Stop it! I ran from them, needing them to stop. The spirit needed to be angry, but not like this.
Princess, stay back!
I won't do it! No!
The barrage continued without mercy.
Listen to me! I can help you! Don't do this!
With each strike Erik threw at the spirit, the barrier quaked and pulsed with energy over and over. The sound of magic clashing reverberated through the space we were in, making the imaginary around us vibrate. Erik's face hardened into a look of pure determination and anger. He truly wished to help me and protect me, but the spirit was still Chad. What was I going to do? We had to make it take control. Oh man. What am I gonna do? Oh shit. I'm gonna have to attack the spirit, aren't I? It wouldn't give up, so I had to aggravate it as well. If making it angry would make it take control, then that was what I had to do. I charged forward. I slammed a fist into the barrier, feeling a hot burn against my skin. However, I knew that I wasn't truly injured. The spirit wouldn't dare hurt me like that.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry! Erik increased the speed of his attack, and soon our barrage of the barrier began to break through. As it began to crack and fade with each punch, the spirit started to whimper.
No, please!
My heart felt whimpering as well, but enough was enough. I had to fix this. With a final attack, Erik and I landed a blow together, smashing through the barrier and impacting the spirit. To my surprise, the attack landed against what felt like a glass orb. As the final blow made impact with the spirit, a rush of bright light engulfed the area. As it did, I felt my form spasm and flicker, causing me to look down at my hand. Though the blinding light, I could see them trembling as they slowly began to turn transparent. What the? I looked up to see Erik rushing for me, panic written all over his face. What was happening? I began to run from him as his body began to glow a deep red and purple color. Erik? Within seconds, Erik reached me and wrapped his arms firmly around me, surrounding us both in a red glow. I felt safe, and the transparency in my hands faded away.
I've got you! Don't let go of me!
I nodded and gripped Erik tightly, feeling something try to pull me away. I shut my eyes, focusing on staying close to Erik. Digging my nails into his vest and shirt, I pulled myself against Erik's chest. My breath felt as if it were trying to escape from my lungs, but Erik gently moved a hand to tilt my head and covered my mouth with his. I felt my breath and replaced the air I had lost, desperate to keep me alive. Was I dying? At last the pull on me stopped, and the world around us grew dark. The forest was gone, the spirit was gone. We were safe. As Erik pulled away and looked down at me with a small, slow smile, I felt happy and relieved. I had been saved from whatever the spirit tried to do, and I was thankful to him for rescuing me when I needed him. I might have been strong, but being in Erik's arms always made me feel stronger. Erik and I collapsed into each other's, closing our eyes and escaping the depths of my mind at last. I wanted to rest a while longer. I felt my body slowly come back to life as I awakened, as if from a dream. My eyes were blinded by the light of the room, but slowly adjusted so that I could see everyone staring at me in relief.
She did it.
They did.
Oh, my stars and garters.
I slowly sat up, rubbing my head and looking around. From everyone's face, no one had rested. How long had we been out? As I thought of Erik, I looked to my side to see him slowly rising from his sleep. As well, still holding my hand, I smiled, remembering how he had sat by my bedside the day Diana came for him. Nostalgical hit me hard as I pulled Erik gently to me and wrapped my arms around him.
Love?
I'm here, Erik. My heart felt like singing 1,000 songs. This was too amazing, and I was as joyful as could be. There was no hint of the spirit left within my body, and I could tell that everything was all right now. I was free to show Erik how much I loved him. Erik wrapped his arms around me and buried his face in my neck, relieved as well.
I'm so happy.
Me too. I ignored the giggles and sighs around us. All I cared about was Erik in that moment. Diana, however, wasn't so subtle in wanting to interrupt our moment. Erik and I looked over at Diana, seeing her exhausted expression from her eyes. I could tell she had spent a lot of energy, and I was responsible for that.
Glad to see that it worked, and that you two are okay. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must rest.
Diana said nothing more as she turned to leave the room. I stopped her. Diana? Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
With that, Diana and the other rebel leaders left the room, leaving the incubi and their wives with us.
Still, we should take some time to do some last-minute training and preparations before heading to bed. We leave first thing in the morning.
Everyone nodded in agreement. I, however, felt the event that had just occurred weigh me down, and I entirely lowered my head. I'll just head to the room, if that's all right.
Huh? All right. I'll be there soon.
I nodded and waved to the others before heading towards my room and making my way to the bed that called my name. I began to make my way back to my room, but stopped as I heard the sound of whispered voices sneak out through a barely open door.
So, we're all in agreement?
And with that, guys, I'm going to leave this episode.
We have to. We don't have any choice anymore.
It will be for the better, I'm sure.
Indeed.
I peeked into the room to see the interior of the library where the 4 rebel leaders stood. In a circle, Sergeant leaned against the fireplace mantel while Rabbit and Shadow sat in the 2 empty chairs. Faye, however, floated to and fro from side to side in anxiousness. What were they talking about? I was so engrossed in figuring out what was happening in the room that I didn't notice a figure coming up behind me and pushing me into the room. Yeah!
Hey, boss. Found something for you.
Huh? Ah, shit.
I grimaced now out in the open. The 4 stared at me with cold eyes as if they were ready to send me back to the human world as a corpse rather than going through with the siege. I looked up at all of them as I slowly rose to my feet, eyeing each leader as I considered running from the door. However, they each looked to each other in contemplation.
Say, you didn't hear anything, did you?
No, I swear.
What was the last thing you heard?
Something about it being for the better? I suddenly felt the guards of each leader behind me, readying their weapons. What the hell? Were they seriously going to kill me for walking by and eavesdropping?
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold on, guys!
I felt the guards back away from me slowly, most likely still cautious of me. I let out a small sigh, happy that I wasn't going to die, at least not immediately. Rabbit, however, looked to me with an ear twitching in curiosity.
Let us ask first. Do you know what has been truly happening with Diana?
I looked to Rabbit, knowing what she meant. Diana had been acting oddly, and it was not boding well. The more I saw her, I could tell that something was seriously weighing her down, or influencing her words. Yeah, but what does that have to do with this meeting? As I answered, the other demons looked once again at each other, before Shadow stepped forward nonchalantly.
Let's not play the ignorance game. We're going to assassinate the succubus when the war is over.
What?
Oh, what the fuck?
Way to just blurt it out!
There's no use in hiding it. We don't know how much she has heard.
I became massively confused. Why were they going to kill her? How were they even going to do it? What? Why? What good would come of killing her? Rabbit stood and walked to the fireplace, staring into the open flames. I could tell... Well, God bless me. Good Lord. Rabbit stood and walked into the fireplace, staring into the open flames. I could tell I was about to get an answer, so I listened intently, wanting to know why they were planning Diana's murder.
Diana, we fear, has become corrupted.
Corrupted? What do you mean?
Meaning she's going batshit crazy like the Demon Lord.
I frowned. I frowned my eyebrows. That couldn't be. I furrowed my eyebrows. That couldn't be. She seemed mostly fine, save for a few instants here and there. Sergeant, reading my face, pushed himself off of the mantel and stood up straight, reminding me of his power with his stance.
Human, you hate the Demon Lord as much as we do, correct?
I glared at Sergeant's stupid question. Of course I hated him. He had trapped me here and forced me and the ones I loved to join this war. There was no reason to even remotely like him. At my glare, Fair swooped in between me and Sergeant, waving their arms frantically.
Listen, we're not trying to make you mad, but... well...
This is ridiculous.
Shadow stood from his seat, now clearly irritated, and stepped towards me.
Succubus has gone mad, and if we don't end her life before she takes the throne, then she will become as mad as the Demon Lord. There is no saving her. Understand?
Oh, come on, Shadow! Seriously?
No, this is beyond unnecessary. All three of you are complicating the matter when all that needs to be stated is the truth.
But how can that be? How is Diana mad like the Demon Lord? None of this made sense. Diana seemed mostly right in her head. However, she was strong enough to lead an army and help me survive until now. She even aided the incubi. There weren't the action of a madwoman. Shadow rolled his eyes and went back to his seat as Faye put their hands behind their back, swaying a bit in the air.
Well, here's the thing. Here in the demon world, emotions and stuff can be uber powerful. Things like extreme grief or euphoria can even become energies on their own, while other feelings become, well, they can become very, very bad things.
Like madness?
Yeah. Madness is more than just a head-mind thingy. Here in this world, it's like a leech or a virus. When a demon catches it, madness just grows and grows until it consumes them, like it did with the Demon Lord.
Taking the new information in, I looked to the floor, thinking of the Demon Lord and how psychotic he was said to have become. He waged war and apparently enjoying burning down kingdoms and slaughtering the innocent. If that was how far madness would take a demon, then I feared for anyone who was capable of falling into it.
You can become mad in multiple ways. By being born mad or being infected by it. Diana has fought the Demon Lord head on multiple times during the past 10 years. It was inevitable that she would catch the affliction.
You can catch madness? How is that possible?
We don't know, but this wouldn't be the first time someone who used to be sane went mad because they were around another crazy demon.
There was an uneasiness in this room. Something told me that there was an uneasiness in the room. Something told me that none of them believed that was the true case. Cause there's more, isn't there?
Huh?
I became bold. If Diana had to die, then there had to be a solid reason, and the madness excuse wasn't enough. Why were they planning it if none of them truly believed it? It's not just because she's mad, isn't it? Something else is wrong. The rebel leaders became silent, letting the tension lay in the air, in plain view, and giving me my answer. I was right. There was more to the story.
Look, I mean, it's not like I want to, okay?
I looked to Faye confused, then twiddled their thumbs as they looked at their fellow demons.
The Demon Lord is a bad guy, and we just don't want another demon like him. And Diana's a very, very powerful succubus, you know?
What does that have to do with anything? Faye sighed and rustled her hair.
Well, she's like mega powerful and stuff. If she goes mad and takes over the world, we'd be screwed, you know? She can enthrall armies and stuff with just a snap of her fingers. Who knows what kind of damage she could do if she went crazy? I really don't care what happens after. I just don't want my people killed because of her stupid leadership.
I could tell that Faye was trying to be sensible about the issue, but in her eyes I could see the fear of the situation. She was probably the only one who believed in her cause that Diana was mad, or at least in danger of becoming so. Rabbit shook her head, tapping her staff on the ground.
Regardless, we can't have you remembering the conversation we had here if we are set on stopping her.
I took a step back, now afraid. Were they really going to kill me? Faye sensed my fear and waved their hands wildly.
Whoa! Hey, hold on! We're not gonna hurt you or anything!
That was somewhat of a relief, but what were they going to do? As I took a breath, Shadow spoke up and catching my attention.
Curious human. Do you believe in the succubus?
What? The other rebel leaders looked to the Shadow as he placed a hand on his chin in thought and peered into my eyes.
Who do you believe should rule this world? The succubus? Or one of us?
and suddenly I became the focal point of the entire war resolution. Why was my opinion important? I looked to the floor, trying to mull over his question and come up with an answer. Diana had saved my life and was doing everything to make it sure I could go back to the human world as safely as possible. Still, from how she was behaving, something was indeed seriously off with her. Was she really ready to take the throne? The four rebel demons before me, however, were all smart and balanced each other out in some shape or form. I could tell that they could all bring peace to the world in the same way. But did Diana really have to be eliminated for that to happen? I felt like I was standing on a precipice. I knew that I have no clue, guys. I felt like I was standing on a precipice. I knew that if I sided with Diana, then she could eventually be eliminated by these four, unless she found out beforehand. I could warn her, but what if these demons erased my memories, or threatened my life? I was balancing on the edge of a knife and had to pick directions to fall. I closed my eyes and answered Shadow's question. Alright, I'm going to leave that right here, guys, and I'm going to leave that choice to you. And the choices are: do you believe in Diana, or do you believe in all of them? And that is where I'm going to end this episode. So if you like this episode, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share it if you think it needs to be shared, and drop me a line down below and tell me how well we're doing. And with that, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Talk to y'all later. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, you can always subscribe. You can always drop me a line down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you guys later. Be used for Sarah and Diana, but since training me for defense became priority, I was given the room along with my trainer of choice, Faye. I didn't know what made me choose Faye. They were indeed a wild card choice. Who knew what I